Disney has parted ways with the third director who has been tied to their Blade reboot. So who should direct it?
Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side.
Hi everyone, my name is Jacob Airy. Welcome to the StudioJake vidcast where I talk about all things pop culture. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Ring that little bell if you're watching on YouTube so you get notifications when I release new videos, and consider becoming a channel member. All right, so oh man, this is so mind-blowing to me. Blade should be one of the simplest movies Marvel, especially in the direction of Disney and Kevin Feige, would have to make, right? Now, while Blade has a very interesting origin and concept as a hero, his story, a movie about him, should be pretty simple. We saw that in Blade and Blade 2. Now, Blade Trinity, they tried to overcomplicate it, and also there was a lot of behind the scenes drama with Wesley Snipes, who didn't like the director that was chosen for Blade Trinity. And I believe it was Patton Oswalt, who, take his word with a grain of salt because that guy is shady. But he did an interview where he said that Wesley Snipes got so mad that he and the director weren't even on speaking terms, that when the director would say something to Wesley Snipes, he would pull out like a post-it note and write it. So all that to say, don't complicate it. So with this MCU reboot of Blade, they're trying to complicate it. Apparently there's like this civil war between the star and some of the people who are working on Blade and Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige wants to introduce Blade's daughter, who is a Marvel Now character who I don't even know her name. And like I said, Marvel Now was when Marvel Comics introduced a lot of lame new characters who are race, gender swapped, and in some cases, they swapped the sexual orientations of people, some of their heroes and the villains. So yeah, she's not a well-received character. No one likes her, but most people like Blade. Now, I am not a huge Blade aficionado like I am with Batman and Spider-Man, but I do appreciate it. So it's so sad to see, especially a talented actor like Mashahari Ali. Am I pronouncing that right? Mahershala Ali. That's it. Mahershala Ali go through this because he wants Blade to be a straight up Blade movie, which is what Wesley Snipes had in the first two, right? That's what he wants. So now they're losing a third director. This is according to The Wrap. Yann Demange, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Again, correct me in the comments, please. I mean, no disrespect. Yann Demange is no longer directing Marvel Studios' Blade, The Wrap has exclusively learned. The parting with the French-Algerian filmmaker actually happened a while ago and was entirely amicable. Demange, best known to date for directing on acclaimed TV series Lovecraft Country and Top Boy, was the second director to part the project after replacing Bassam Tariq. Marvel veteran writer Eric Pearson, who most recently worked on Fantastic Four, is currently working on the Blade script. By the way, this is the seventh writer. I don't know why they can't get this movie together. Michael Starbury, Nick Pizzolatto, and Michael Green wrote previous drafts of the script. Mahershala Ali is still attached to the star as the half-human vampire hunter. Ali is currently in talks with Universal and Amblin to join the next Jurassic World film. Oh, that's going to create scheduling conflicts, won't it? According to an insider with knowledge, getting Blade right is much more important than getting the film out. Okay, so that's the rub there, right? Blade is an easy target. It is about a guy who's a half human, half vampire who can take out vampires. He can walk in the day, but he still has vampiric powers and he can take them out. That's all there is to it. That's what the first two movies were about, and it was glorious. Both of those movies I like. Blade Trinity, it's on my list of worst superhero movies I've ever seen. But I think that they could do this. I think they could make it work. I think it would work well if they just stuck to a simple story. But no, Kevin Feige and all the woke morons at Disney, they want to change it. And good for Ali for kind of sticking to his guns, because now this is just a rumor, so take this with a grain of salt, but apparently he has been the one who says, I just want it to be a Blade movie. Now what's interesting is Marvel Studios originally had this rule where they weren't double casting. So Ali previously played Cottonmouth in season one of Luke Cage. He was kind of this Harlem mafia guy, basically. He was a nightclub owner and all of this. And Marvel accidentally broke the rule with Captain America Civil War when they casted an actress who had been in Luke Cage as well and brought it in. Now, originally, Marvel had said the Netflix shows are not MCU canon, and and same with Agents of Shield and Inhumans. We're removing them all from the docket. Now they've since changed their minds. I don't know why that is, but they have since backed off from that, and they're saying yes, they are part of the timeline. So Ali, I guess, well, he's a good part for Blade, but I think it's interesting that they're kind of breaking that rule. But who should direct it now? And this is the question that I have. So I have actually narrowed down a list of 5 directors who I think could bring out a simple action vampire hunting movie starring the MCU hero or the Marvel Comics hero Blade. So, Jin and Sylvia Soska. So, if you're unfamiliar with them, they do a lot of horror films. They've done all kinds of them. They did a really brutal action movie called Vendetta, starring Dean Cain. They recently did Festival of the Living Dead, which is kind of a spiritual sequel to Night of the Living Dead, and they've done a ton of others. But they could really bring out the horror aspects of the story, and they're writers. They have written scripts. So, you could fire, that writer that they got who has worked on movies no one has cared about, and bring them on because they're horror movies, they're really big in the horror community, and I think that they could make that work. Number 2, Guillermo del Toro. He directed Blade 2, and he did a fantastic job, I might add. He delivered on every level. He made it a lot of fun, and I think that he's just such a good expert. He's even an expert like on the finer things when it comes to a film. He really puts it all together, and I think that he would do a good job. Another one is, now this one might be a little more controversial because he hasn't really done a whole lot of horror, but I think he is a very talented director, and that is Antoine Fuqua. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but he did Equalizer 1 and 2, Training Day, Equalizer 3, The Magnificent Seven. He directed a biopic about Michael Jackson, or was it a documentary? Sorry, help me out in the comments again. But he's a fantastic director. He's really good with action and making it look stylistic. The only thing I didn't like about the Magnificent Seven remake, which, by the way, the classic Magnificent Seven is on my top 5 favorite Western films. But all that to say, I liked his version of it. I think he did a good job. I just think there was one character that got killed off who shouldn't have. They should have had someone else expire in their place. But I think he would do a great job. Now, this one's kind of more funny, but I think it would work really well, and that's John Woo. He's really good at sort of these emotional action thrillers like Face Off, and he has had some hit and misses through his career. He directed the first version of the Hulk, the non-MCU one, starring Eric Bana as Bruce Banner, and so he already has kind of a relationship with Marvel. Obviously, this was before Disney took over everything. That was when the Hulk was still with Universal. But I honestly think he would do a good job at this. He is really good with action. Now, his soundtracks, they can be hit or miss, but I do think that he is a good director who would be able to pull off Blade. And of course, I've got to throw in my favorite active director, who at one time I called the only visionary director, and that is Christopher Nolan. But seriously though, especially if Marvel wanted to go a different route, because the Blade trilogy with Wesley Snipes, they didn't really go into Blade's origin other than just talk about it. Christopher Nolan has already done this with Batman Begins, where he could go back and forth between maybe Blade flashbacking to his past, to his training, to understanding his powers and who he is and where he came from. I could definitely see him making that work. But what do you think? Who do you think should direct Blade? I'd love to hear your comments. And do you think this movie is going to get canceled or just kicked further down the road? Because it does seem like, like I said, they just released their 3rd director. They've hired a 7th writer, and now their star is about to go to another film franchise, the Jurassic Park franchise. So where does this make Blade stand in the pantheon of upcoming announced Disney MCU films? If you like that video, be sure to like it, share it out to all your friends, leave me a comment, and tell me what you think. Not to mention, subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, ring that little bell so you get notifications when I post new videos, and consider becoming a channel member where you get all kinds of perks, including once a week where I release a video to members only first. If you're like, Jacob, I don't want to support you on big tech, I'm watching on Rumble, Odyssey, or BitChute, no worries. Click on my locals community. The link is in the description. You can support independent creators like myself there. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.
Cause I've been living life right like I could just die